A step closer to closing. A step closer to closing. A step closer to closing.
What are the couple of things that we need to know about our house?
You like making money.
Don't skip on this one. This is a big deal.
And welcome to A Step Closer to Closing. You know what? We're making moves, y'all. We're making moves.
Absolutely.
We are still making moves, Wayne. And you know where we have moved? Into September. Can you believe that?
I know it's getting dark earlier and everything. I don't like it.
I don't
like
either.
it.
That I am not a fan of that. And you know what? I know as much as we complained about the 90 degree and 95 degree, I wasn't mad at all because I remember winter.
Yeah.
And winter is on its way back sooner than later. But just so y'all know, I'm Brenda Lee Wells with United Real Estate Executives. I'm associate broker and office manager here. And we have our awesome leader.
Wayne Davis, broker, owner of United Real Estate Executives in Owens Mills, Maryland.
Awesome. And we have a special guest here that we're going to hear from in a little bit later. But you want to introduce yourself?
I am Eric Smalls with Goosehead Insurance, personal lines, auto, and home insurance agent, also in Owens Mills, Maryland.
And I am so excited to be here. Well, you know what? Not only is it September, it is Labor Day weekend. Can you believe that?
Already.
Oh my God! Because I always count once the 4th of July happens, summer's over, pretty much over with. But I mean, the time is going by so fast. But you know what? It is what it is. But that's just like with real estate. It's cyclical. So we go through cycles with the weather. We go through cycles with the seasons. We go through cycles with real estate. So that's what we're still here. Yes, we're a step closer to closing, but we're still on real estate realities because we're here to tell you about the real deal. And let me tell you, I'm straight up. This is reality today because you know how they say you don't look like what you've been through. Today I look like what I've been through today. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I know. It's another thing I just want to talk about too. You just reminded me of something. When people are talking about the market and it is slowing down and things like that, it's not slowing down. It's getting back to normal. It's not slowing down. So don't look at the news and think it's doom and gloom and everything's about to crash. People are closing. They're still buying. We're still settling. Like Brenda was just talking about, she just had a settlement. We had settlements here, always around the end of the month, so it's always pretty hectic. But I just want to let people know that nothing has really changed. I mean, the multiple offer situation, we don't see as many of those, but there's still a lot of buyers out here who want to get in before the end of the year because that was their goal.
And actually, right, because what we were seeing before was not the norm.
No.
And just like the weather that we saw before, that was not the norm. Those escalated temperatures, those escalated contract sales, those escalated prices. Well, now things are starting to subside and they're just getting back to normal. As we talked about, even gas prices. Things are just getting back to normal. They've been high before. Now they've kind of tapering out. So now it's where we can just kind of inhale and exhale and just move back into where we were before, so we're saying happy Labor Day, happy first day of school to many of our young folks and our old folks and our young at heart folks and whomever is starting in that next phase of education and next level. We just want to congratulate you and we pray that you have a wonderful school year, and we just believe in that there's not going to be any type of incidents that we've had in the past. We don't want to see about any crazy shootings and anything. We just believe that the teachers, that you're blessed and that everything is going to work out for your good and you're going to excel this school year. So we just want to congratulate you also for that. For many of you are starting next level, starting in college. We're all excited with you, but that's what we're talking about with our home ownership. Everything is about education. Wayne, we were just just went to our education, our
Exactly.
next level of
Exactly.
education. You talk about things are always changing. Seasons are always changing. Real estate is always changing. You want to talk a little bit about what we just experienced this week?
So we actually have a lot of changes to our Maryland contract of sale through the Maryland Association of Realtors. So we had to have a training on that for the statewide forms, which, you know, with the updates and changes that will take effect October 1st. There are a lot of things that, you know, in my opinion, that would make it kind of user friendly and more, you know, understanding to the actual buyer or seller, so you can explain things, you know, easily. You know, we talk in a certain lingo all the time, but you know, the average person doesn't, you know, really understand some of the things that we say. So this kind of breaks it down more in like layman's terms, and you know, that's what I kind of got from it. And it's a lot of changes. But, you know, your trusted real estate professional will know all of those changes by October 1st.
Absolutely. And so, but we want to educate you, because a lot of times when we're in the heat of things, when we're in the process of the transaction, a lot of times the very thing that you're signing, which is a contract of sale, it is a legally binding contract that you're signing, and the first time you see it is when you're in the process of signing it. So don't be afraid to ask a realtor, hey, look, you know, I know we're going out looking at houses, but this document that I'm going to be signing, or these various documents, can we just take a look at them? Can I have an opportunity to see what it is that I'm signing, to make sure I am in total agreement? With technology is a wonderful thing, but technology has also made it easier for us to miss certain things. So we're e-signing documents that we don't even know what we're e-signing. And then when we get in the midst of the transaction, it's like, well, I don't remember that. I don't remember that being discussed. I agreed to that. When? Wayne's laughing. Why you laughing, Wayne?
Because it always happens.
Yes. Why, when, and how did I agree to that specific? Because that was in the contract of sale. And when you first got started in real estate over 20 years ago, how many pages was the contract of sale, Wayne?
Probably 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the contract of sale now is 11 pages. And that is just the core contract. That doesn't include all the extra addenda that are included in all the other situations that have happened. We even have the addendum for COVID. Okay, so every time there's a pandemic, I'm waiting for the monkeypox addendum. I thought they were going to announce we got a monkeypox addendum, but they did not announce that. But however, there are a lot of changes that have happened in the midst of that. And one of the things I was surprised about was the wood destroying insects. You know, which a lot of people as AKA termites. You know, that is a big thing, but that was something that was removed from the core contract, but now it's been moved someplace else. So these are the type of things, the as-is addendum. That was something that was very prevalent in the midst of our the aggressive sellers market. Was that as-is addendum, and that is no more. So there are a lot of things that you want to make sure that that you understand it, that you know what is it that I'm signing and why am I signing it. Because at the settlement table, it's too late. It really is. So the one thing that I do want to make sure that also, when we talked about last time, was short sales. Well, my short sale sold.
Oh, good. Good.
That's always a good thing.
Yes.
And trust me, last time you said that there's nothing short about a short sale. Well, I can testify to that 100%. There is absolutely nothing short about a short sale, because that took, and even in comparison to regular contracts, it wasn't short, but compared to some other short sales, because mine took 5 months, there are some that have taken as long as a year or two. So, but the fact that but even straight up to the settlement table, there were still issues, there were still concerns, there was still extra gray hairs that I grew. I saw my hair change in color as I was sitting at the settlement table. Please let them sign off on this. So it's not an easy thing. Now, I'm not saying it can't be profitable for you, but just be aware. That's what it's all about. So, so about that being aware, one of the ways that we talk about being aware is how, Wayne?
Through our home buyer workshop.
That's it. That's it.
Through the home buyer workshop. So we have those the third Saturday of every month here at the office, from 10 to 12, 1? Okay, 10 to 1. but they typically go over because people have a lot of questions and there's a lot of interest. So we typically, don't really set end time, but they will go over, and actually, Eric is one of the presenters, at the home buyer workshops as well. So it's very informative for everyone that's come, and we've gotten great feedback from everyone that's actually attended, and we've actually had the person that bought the short sale
Yes.
from the workshop, right?
Yes, she was.
Okay.
Yes,
All
she
right.
was,
Yeah.
and she was gave such a testimony because she was not a first time home buyer.
Okay.
And so she was actually one of my tax clients that I had worked with for years, and she made a decision that she wanted to move forward to rent out her previous property and to buy a new property. But the last time she had bought was 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
You think maybe something's changed within the last 30
A whole
years?
lot of things have changed.
A whole lot has changed. So we were strategic as to how to. So we sat there, had consultation, and was strategic as to how we needed to proceed with her renting out her property, and then we even refinanced to get some cash out, because when we came in, it was still part of that aggressive aspect. And so the places where she wanted, FHA was not allowed, so we had to revamp some things. But the key factor, I said, well, look, I'm having a home buyers workshop. I encourage you to come. So she came to not just one, but she came to two.
Oh, good.
So even being a homeowner, she said, Brenda, there was still so much information that was there that I couldn't get it all. I needed to get more information. And the beautiful thing about it is that she was able to meet Eric. So Eric was able to help her with the refinancing of her current home, and he was also able to help her with the purchase of her new home with getting the insurance. So it was very important for her to be there, because there's things she didn't understand being a homeowner about insurance. And Eric was there to help her explain.
Yeah.
So the education aspect is very, very important. So our next one, like we said, is the third Saturday. So when this airs, it will be September the 17th. We will be here, and we will have everyone that you have need of for the transaction from beginning to end, because we find that it's best that you hear straight from the individual's mouth.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, we're realtors, and we stay in our lane for the most part. And I'm a settlement officer as well, which is why I kind of looked through what I went through. That's what I would share about that situation. But it's all about the education is your empowerment.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
They said knowledge is power. Well, I find applied knowledge, because a lot of times, right? I mean, people know, but a lot of times you don't know what you don't know until you come here and you find out I don't know.
Right.
So that's the reality of it. So, and also just when we were talking about the contract to sale, one of the important things that we encourage you, even as the consumer, whether you're the buyer or the seller, we as realtors, we do the best that we can with the information that we have, especially if we're the listing agent. We rely on previous documents. We rely on public records.
Yeah.
We rely on deeds to have that information to be accurate. So when we're preparing the contract to sale, if that information isn't accurate, then that transfers over and to other documents. It transfers over to the title company. It could transfer over to the lender. It can transfer over to others. So that's the situation I had this morning with the settlement, is that we're at the settlement table and the seller says, my name is spelled wrong, and it's spelled wrong on the deed, but this isn't the first time it's happened, this is the second time it's happened. And where this should have really been discovered is on the contract.
Yeah.
But it was unfortunate that the deed had the name misspelled, and the agent went with what was on the deed, and the seller just didn't notice it, because a lot of time with the e-signings, we're just passing papers through, click here, click here, click here, click here.
Right.
And we're not reading what it's actually saying. So I encourage you to please read the document, look at it, make sure the spellings are correct, because these are the type of things that can belabor settlement as well.
Exactly, and it's not even just the settlement now. You have to think in terms of what's going to happen when this person tries to transfer this property 10, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and their name is spelled wrong.
That's what happened today.
They have to go through all of these things, hoops, to get everything corrected so they can actually transfer the property.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's what happened was when the buyer, because I mean they're the sellers today, but when they were the buyers, their name was spelled wrong on the deed.
Okay.
So because their name was spelled wrong on the deed, if their name must have been spelled wrong on the contract, the sale, And so when the name is spelled wrong back on the deed, when they bought the property, it got recorded incorrectly. And then when the title company's pulling it up and the listing agent's pulling up the information, all the records have this on there, is this being the person's name. I mean, it's a snowball effect.
Yeah. Right.
And then it snowballed into the day of settlement. So now it's not a major issue, but it could be if it's 5:00 in the afternoon, you're
That's
doing
true.
a late settlement. It's Friday, it's a holiday weekend, and now we have a document that's not accurate that needs to be accurate. So there's just something that simple can be avoided by just paying attention and just help us help you, basically.
Exactly.
When it's all said and done, help
Exactly.
us help you. So I said that off screen. Okay, back to our realities. I said I didn't have a whole lot to say today. So I'm going to digress a little bit, because with the home buyers workshop, and I'm going to talk a lot about that today, because I have found we've been doing this since March of this year, 2022, and every single home buyers workshop, I, as a seasoned realtor, as someone who's in the field every day, I've learned something new every single time. Every single third Saturday, I walk away with an aha moment. And a lot of my aha moments have been listening to this gentleman right here. Now, I think you picked up like maybe our third home buyers workshop, and maybe when you came, was it April or May?
April or May.
Right. And so he was saying things like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And they even talked about that at the GBBR, at the fair. They talked about there's an insurance addendum. There's a brochure that educates home buyers about insurance. So being able to understand, I'm going to let Eric talk about what some things that we should know, especially as first-time home buyers or even home buyers, about insurance. Can you talk to us?
So one of the biggest things that you wanted to know is you want to educate yourself on what the coverages are. You know, what are these things that you're purchasing? What are the coverages that are available? And that's, to me, one of the biggest gaps in coverages. You know, people want to save money in the beginning, but if you had a claim and if there was a loss, that's not a good time to find out that this or that isn't covered, or your deductible is $8,000-$9,000. So you want to make sure you understand what it is you're purchasing and understand what the optional coverages are. And really, the only way to do that is have an agent that's going to ask you those questions. You know, people don't know insurance. I didn't know insurance before I got in the industry. So, you know, it's always good to work with someone that does ask you all those questions. Make sure that they're probing you to get the information that they would need to give you good advice.
And you know what I found during the home buyers process, because the reason that you need insurance, of course, you want to make sure the home is protected, but the lender,
They require it.
Yes.
they require the homeowner's insurance. So there are specific questions that are going to be asked by you as the agent, as the broker for the buyer. So a lot of times I'll say, okay, well, we'll start shopping for insurance after we have the inspection, because there are certain information. There's certain information. So what type of information do you usually ask from the home buyer about the house, and while we need the home inspection?
So we want to know the age of the roof. We want to know the condition of the home. How old are the systems? You know, how old is the HVAC, the plumbing, the electrical? Those are very important to insurance companies, because that would determine the probability of a loss.
Okay.
You know, if you have old systems in the house, you may have a probable loss, as well as the roof. Is there a pool out back? That's a big one.
Okay.
Not to say you can't buy a house with a pool,
Right.
but you want to make sure that you're working with an insurance company that is okay with the pool and, you know, will rate you without it being very expensive. Is there a trampoline out back? Is there a fence? Is the pool fenced in? Is the basement finished?
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to know if the basement is finished, because I want to know how much water sewer backup coverage we do.
Ooh.
Gotcha.
You know, so that usually happens in the basement area, and it's the worst thing.
Okay, let's
to
talk
avoid.
about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that water source, because that is a major thing, especially in the Baltimore City area.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about that in detail.
So water sewer backup is three main ways you can have water issues in your house. You know, the first way is covered automatically. You know, if you make a mistake, leave the water on. We've done that maybe one time or two. But the dishwasher overflows, hot
Mm-hmm.
water heater, you know, things like that, that's automatically covered for you. So you don't usually in a standard HO3 homeowners policy. But then you have water sewer backup, you have what's called flood, and then you have service line. So water sewer backup is the water started in your home, but it was supposed to leave, and for whatever reason it backed up.
Okay.
So when you have a claim, the claims adjuster will come out and he'll determine which bucket is going to put that claim in.
Okay.
So if it backed up in your home, it's supposed to leave, that is very common, especially in Baltimore City. We have old infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure you have that coverage because it could happen anywhere, but usually happens in the basement. And then flood, a lot of people confuse flood with water backup. It's not the same.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I have found that to be.
Yep. So with flood, that is water from the outside coming in. All right. Rising water. It could be heavy snow, heavy rain. Your basement isn't sealed as good as you would like, and it comes in, or you live on the ocean, on the side, near the ocean. If you live in a flood zone.
Okay, so that's like an act of nature.
Act of nature,
The
yes.
flood.
Okay.
All
Yep.
right.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we would do a separate policy for that. It's never usually included in your homeowners. So if you read your homeowners and you say does include flood, don't panic. The insurance company wasn't trying to get over on you. It's just not included with homeowners.
Okay.
So we do a separate policy for that, and we do recommend it. You do not have to live in a flood zone to have a flood. It's not
Right,
as
right.
probable
Right.
as water sewer backup, but it's not impossible.
Okay.
So if the lender doesn't require, because a lot of times lenders don't require the flood insurance, can they still get it?
They can still get it.
Okay.
Yep.
I
It's
just want to make sure
separate.
that that's clear.
Yes. Yep. And then the last one is service line. So service line are the lines underneath your home going out to the property line. And if you're buying in Baltimore City, you definitely should get this coverage.
Okay.
Because before it wasn't covered by homeowners insurance companies. They would have outside companies sending you mail when you moved in, and you're like, what is this? But it is a very costly expense if something happens. If your sewer line ruptures in the back of your yard, they have to dig all that up, and that's $10,000
Yeah,
just
easy.
to come out.
Easy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. Now, let me ask you something else because I recently, on the last purchase, home purchase I had, which was like about a year ago, when I was calling around to get insurance quotes, they were asking me, like you said, the age of your roof.
Yeah.
And if I said it was 10 years plus, a lot of insurance companies wouldn't insure me.
Yes.
And I was like, I thought roofs were good for like 20, 25
And they are.
years.
And they
Yeah,
are.
but I'm like,
Right.
what's this 10-year rule? Like,
Right.
so I don't know how that came up, but it seems like a lot of insurance companies are following suit with each other on it.
Yeah, a lot has changed in the insurance world. The insurance commissioners put different laws in place to allow insurance companies to do different things. But you have a lot of the companies that we see on TV, they are very strict with their underwriting.
Okay.
So it used to be 20 years.
Oh, okay.
And then a few years ago, they changed it to 10. So you have a lot of companies with different appetites.
Okay.
So 10 years is, they just want to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes they go a little bit far with, the guidelines. But yeah, some companies do want your roof to be 10 years or newer. But being a broker,
Yeah.
I can work with
Yeah, you can
so
go
many
around.
different companies that allow so many different things. Some that do say 10 years may have a little better rate, but then you may have one that doesn't mind the 20 years, and they have just as good of a rate, or if not better. So yeah, that is not uncommon for you to run into
Okay.
that. They're asking about the age of the roof and the age of the systems. Also, the claims history on the property itself.
Yeah.
So I had this happen a couple times. Most recently, I also had it happen. The seller of the home had about 4 or 5 water claims
Wow.
on the house. So one of the carriers that I was going to write with, they rejected it because of that. It had nothing to do with the buyer, but the seller had too many claims. So the risk of the home itself was uninsurable to that carrier. I found another carrier for them.
Right, okay.
But it's not uncommon for an insurance company to deny you because something that didn't have anything to do with you. But it's also good to have that information so you'll know
Yeah, so you'll
what the
know.
issues is with the home that you're purchasing, and I can get that report to people who are looking to buy a house.
So there's like a centralized system that all insurance carriers go into, and they can put their address in, and they can see every claim and things like that.
Yes, it's called the Clue Report. So when we
Okay.
run reports for insurance, we run what's called the Clue Report, and that's like the insurance company's credit reports.
Okay.
So all that information is put into LexisNexis.
Okay.
And then when we pull, it pulls from LexisNexis.
Oh, okay.
So just like your home, just like your car insurance. I did a video a little while ago to make sure people are educated that you need to check your car insurance history. You know, a lot of times you get a quote, you say, I didn't have those accidents.
Yeah.
But same thing with home insurance. Sometimes, not as much as home insurance, but
Yeah.
the carrier may have something on your record that may not be just as accurate. Maybe they initially thought it was one thing, then the claim adjuster came out and they realized it was something else, but they forgot to go back for whatever reason and change it.
Okay.
So,
Well, you know what? I have a question because one of the responsibilities also as realtors is when we're doing a listing is a property disclosure disclaimer.
yes,
And so if there's something that's like a latent defect,
right,
that should be disclosed for potential home buyers to know.
right.
Should realtors have access to clue reports, or are we opening up a can of worms?
Well, I
Then
mean,
maybe we don't want to know. But
Yeah.
but the problem is if we find out later, and then the buyer comes back and said, well, you know what? Here's an insurance report that says
Right.
that this was a problem,
Right.
and seller, that you knew that this was a problem. Why didn't you disclose it?
Well,
Being
it's
an
I guess
issue?
it's almost like a Carfax for a house.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so,
it's,
yeah.
It seems like that should be kind of
Well,
public
sort of, so-
information at some point too.
With that disclosure, that is supposed to highlight what is still defective.
Right.
So if an
Or
insurance
okay.
claim, they should have got the money and fixed
Okay.
whatever had happened.
Okay.
But it's good to know that if it's a repetitive thing, you know, if they continuously have water issues every 2-3 years, then
Yeah.
maybe this is something that has not been properly fixed. Maybe it's could continue to be an ongoing issue. So a real estate agent, that's a really strong negotiating tool. If you
Yeah.
know, hey, you know, my buyer is trying to buy a home, but you know, this home has had several issues with it. So that could be a really good tool for the buyer working with United to be able to get a better, you know, deal.
Yeah, because we had that situation. I don't know if the one you were just referring to is the same one, where the buyer wanted to get out of the contract because of that. And I mean, but there's not a specific clause that I can think of, Wayne, that you
No.
know, because it's not a part of the home inspection.
No.
Right.
And so, like I said, I don't know about opening up another can of worms, but a lot of times they don't know this until they've had home inspection, they've had appraisal, and they're getting insurance. We do try to get the insurance, you know, quotes early on.
Right.
But a lot of times we don't know this until after the fact.
Yeah.
And that they wanted to get out of the contract. It's like, okay, I'm concerned because there have been, so even if it was fixed, because there were so many claims, is there something going on with this house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would behoove even for the sellers. Now, it just so happens in this particular situation that the sellers did outline specifically what each claim was,
that was good.
and you know what steps were taken. So, and again, we're educating you from the reality perspective. If you're potentially considering selling your home, make sure you maintain good records.
Right.
Make
Yeah,
sure you
that's
have
important.
receipts
Right.
Yeah.
from licensed
Reputable
Reputable.
contract.
Right. Right.
In Maryland.
In-
Okay,
Oh,
not
my-
Delaware, not PA.
Oh, my
you know,
gosh.
Like a Maryland license. Yeah.
But the inspection and the appraisal doesn't necessarily obtain that information. So I encourage people to get a homeowner's quote as soon as you're interested in a property. You give me a call, I run a quote for you, and that'll give you that report. Not only the cost of it, but that'll give you that little bit more information that you may want to know about that home.
sooner than later.
That's right.
It may be a good idea to get it during the home inspection
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't know. That might be a line that needs to be
Yeah.
added in that.
Yeah.
That may be a different type of
And
a
that's
conversation.
and from your reports, that stays on for the life of the property, right? Like, or is it like
Right.
a certain time frame?
Usually 5 years.
Okay, 5
And after
years.
5 years, they
Okay.
don't even show us
Okay.
anything that happened
Gotcha.
before that. But if it's a really big, over 10 or 20,000, then the
Yeah.
insurance company's going to only put the money in draws. Just like if
Gotcha.
you're doing a rehab on a house, the lender's only going to give you money in draws.
Okay.
So they're going to check and make sure that it was at least done. But smaller claims, like you said, they could be repetitive. It could be a nuisance of a problem. And maybe they hadn't gotten it fixed.
That's
So
a
that's
possibility.
another
That's,
thing.
that's
You
a,
can took the
that,
check
that
and
is a
just
possibility.
patch it up a little bit, and you never really properly got it fixed. So
Gotcha.
yes.
Gotcha. So another question, just because I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of Goosehead before, because
Yeah.
that was my initial response. I was like,
Right.
Goosehead, where did this come from? It just came out of nowhere. And then it was
Right.
funny because since I've met Eric, I've met like 3 other people that are with the Goosehead.
Yes.
So Goosehead originally, was it another company prior to this? Or this?
No, Goosehead started about 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
They're based in Texas.
Okay.
And they offer franchises for insurance individuals who want to start their own franchise
Okay.
and be brokers.
Okay.
So Goosehead isn't the insurance company. You're never
Yeah.
going to have Goosehead as
Yeah.
the insurance company.
Yeah.
We are the brokers that actually will be able to shop all the companies for you.
Okay.
So you're talking about saving time,
Yeah.
you know, and not having to deal with all these telemarketers calling you, you're going online, and then I can, you know, make sure I always try to make sure I'm consultative. You know, you're going to get educated whether you buy from me or not, whether I can
agree.
save you money or not. You're going to make sure that, you know a little bit more about your insurance. But the main goal is to put money back into your pocket. So I want to make sure we can save you some money. And so Goosehead is able to shop around. You know, we have companies that a lot of people have heard of, Progressive, Nationwide, Allstate, amongst many other companies. But a lot of the companies we network with don't spend money on TV. So you probably haven't heard of these companies, but they're all A-rated.
Okay.
Excellent claims, excellent customer service, and so it's good.
And I know I can, attest to this, that every time I refer someone to Eric, he's always gotten them done, whether it's a commercial building, a vacant property, just any type of insurance. He was able to get a policy written for those people, where other companies did turn them down.
Right.
Yeah. So that's definitely a plus.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Appreciate it.
And absolutely the professionalism, and I get feedback also, even from my clients, that said, and the agents, our real estate agents that are also been referring and been using Goosehead, just said just your professionalism and the excellence and how you conduct business and work ethics, that they are very, very impressed with that. So it's it's win-win. Well, I have a question, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, because this is something that I always hear: Baltimore City versus Baltimore County, and rates and things like that. And why does it seem like the rates are higher when it comes to Baltimore City?
Well, Baltimore City, it's more congested.
Okay.
More cars. So like in Baltimore is much higher than, let's say, in North Carolina. It's more rural, not as many cars. There are a lot of accidents. There is a lot of theft and fraud as well.
Okay.
So that plays into
Higher
it as well.
risk.
High risk.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense, because I always get that question. Well, but it seems like the insurance is so much higher. Well, the risk factor, because that's what it really is all
and
about.
it's funny because in certain zip codes in the county, it's like night and day too. It's like, wait a minute, what happened? I mean, they're only like 5 miles apart.
Exactly.
But this zip code is higher than that zip code.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's usually because there's more accidents in that zip code.
It could be more accidents, the rating factor. Crime does play a big part of it.
Okay.
Prior claims for certain areas. So they may do all their numbers on a large scale. They say in this particular area over the last 5-6 years we've had a big loss ratio. So we need to increase the rates there. And then if we're buying a Baltimore City, we have vacant homes, which does create a risk. So if you're buying a property that may be near or close proximity to vacant homes. And then they also look at similar things to real estate, the roads, the schools, just, a whole bunch of different factors that factor in. But a lot of, because it's more congested, I would say.
Yeah, I also, the consumer has a tendency sometimes to get confused: homeowners insurance and home warranty.
Okay, yes.
So you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yes. So home insurance is for like catastrophic loss. It's like your car insurance. If you have an accident, something accidentally happens, and the home warranty is sort of like your car warranty. So that's the maintenance type of aspect. So your appliances going up. So your hot water heater, your furnace, your your stove, your refrigerator. A lot of these appliances talk to you now, so they $4,000 or $5,000.
They talk back to you.
Right. so you know that's going to be a hefty repair cost. So the home warranty is there to make sure, as a new home buyer, you don't want a whole bunch of surprises. Just like you buy a car, you want to get a warranty. You don't want to take that back to the shop for an engine, and you just purchased it. You don't want to have to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for the hot water heater went up. You just bought your home. That's not a good time. So we have some companies that will offer a home warranty. Some
With the
don't.
homeowners insurance?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Some
All right.
companies that will offer, and more companies are starting to do like the service line.
Okay.
They're adding more and more of these services.
Okay.
I have one company that, including with the loss of use. Loss of use is if you have a claim, you can't use your home, you have to stay somewhere else. Same as with your car insurance, they give you a rental car. One company I have will pay your mortgage. During that
What's the
claim.
name again?
That's Hippo Insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, they pay the
So,
mortgage. Yeah.
so in a situation, so when you have to make a claim because you're the broker and you broker the deals out, do they make the claim through you or do they make it directly with the insurance company?
They would make it with the insurance company.
Carrier,
We would be
okay.
like their liaison.
Gotcha.
So they, a lot of people call me and I make sure they get connected, and our companies, because they're A-rated, customer claim service, I mean, they really hold their hand.
Okay.
So, next thing I know, I call them, oh, it's almost done, Eric. Oh,
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
And then we have Goosehead Insurance is the servicing agency as well.
Okay.
So if you have any issues, that's the difference between having an agent and just going with a company that just give you customer service. You're going to speak to a different customer service rep almost every time. With the agent, we establish a relationship. You call me, and trust me, every company isn't perfect. You may have a claims rep that, quite frankly, just isn't that nice or just isn't that good. It's human beings. You can have, any company can have that. And, I had one lady one time, about a month ago, call me. She was not happy with her claims rep. And then come to find out the claims rep had went on vacation, but they didn't inform her, So we stepped in and, we made sure we got in touch with the manager. We escalated it. And the next day, she called me, everything's going well now. Everything was resolved.
Wonderful. Okay.
So it's just having that person to stand up and say, hey, no, you're not going to, miss the company. Because we work for you.
Right.
I represent the company. But, if things don't go well, for whatever reason, then you always have us to back you up.
Okay, because normally when something goes wrong, they call us.
Oh,
Right.
my goodness.
So
My goodness.
We're the claims rep. The claims
Okay.
So I just want to know,
Customer
like, I
service.
can pass. No, you need to call this person.
All right.
Yeah, my ceiling. I got a waterfall in my kitchen.
Oh,
I
they
just
call
moved.
you?
I moved
Oh,
in.
my goodness.
Oh,
From,
and it
the
could
day
be
of
a year,
settlement.
and it could be a year.
And be
later.
a year later
I've had
on.
people call me 2 years later.
Wow.
Didn't I have a home warranty? Those
That's
are
the first
called.
thing.
Those are called.
Didn't the home inspector should have caught this?
Did
I'm
home inspector should have
like,
caught that?
Right.
Well, it's 2 years from
2 years later.
But you know what? But during the winter time, that's when we get it because we had a couple of them, Wayne, that from settlement table to get to the house, my basement is flooded,
Oh,
Pipes
wow.
freezing.
Yeah.
frozen pipes.
Yeah.
So in a situation like that, would that be something because they're insured as of the time of their settlement?
Right.
Is that something that the insurance company would cover if the pipes
Yeah.
are frozen?
So now, the insurance companies always want you to make sure you do everything possible to take care of your house.
Well, they're the new homeowners.
They're new homeowners.
They're the big. They just signed that morning
Right.
and went home that night
Right.
and went to move into the house and turned on gas and electric stuff that hadn't been on for a minute probably,
Right.
and there's water.
Because
So
When they
the
move in, they
policy
do.
actually goes into effect when you initiate it or when it's paid for.
when we initiate, so whatever
Okay.
the date is, we try
Okay.
to make that the closing date.
Gotcha.
Right. Mhm.
Sometimes the closing date may get pushed a day or two
Yeah.
later. Then we a lot of
Yeah.
times the customer said we could just leave it
Yeah,
as
just
is.
leave it in place.
But it starts on that day.
Okay.
And yes, the frozen pipes would be covered. That's-
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well that's a good thing. So call Eric. Don't call.
Yeah, call Eric. Don't call us.
I got you.
Yeah, no, but there is like a lot of things as far as preventive maintenance, and then you have a lot of people, especially they don't winterize their homes when the temperature drops and things like that. We have to remind them to keep the heat on.
That is very
and
important.
all that
Yes.
stuff, or at least drain the lines.
Exactly. That's very important. That's what the insurance companies don't want. They don't want you to just be negligent and go out of town and turn everything off for a month and then come back and be like, oh, my pipes must be you know, you didn't leave anything, you know, to make sure that the home is continuously warm and pipes would do that.
What about vacant houses? Do you have people who insure vacant
yes.
houses? I know that's another thing. Or and also investment properties.
Yes.
Is the insurance criteria different when it's not
Yes.
the homeowner?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have a what we call a long-term rental.
Okay.
So that's where you're renting it out to someone else. Then you have the builder's risk. That's when you're maybe preparing to rent it out. So you just purchase it, you're fixing it up, and you do not have any tenants in there. It's vacant, but you're fixing it up in the process of. So you want to cover your building materials as they're going in,
Okay.
your liability if anything happens, and of course the building itself.
Okay.
All right. With the long-term rental, you're covering the building, everything that you would cover in the regular homeowners. But one key important coverage with a rental property is that you'll get paid comparable rent if you have a claim.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's the loss of use for a rental property.
Okay.
So if you have a tenant in there, let's say there's a fire, and your home insurance company is covering it, the tenant needs to have renter's insurance.
Say that again.
The tenant needs to have renter's insurance.
Read his lips.
The tenant needs to have renter's insurance. Because the first thing, if it's the tenant's negligence or responsibility for the fire, then their renter's insurance can cover it instead of
Okay.
you making a claim on your
Gotcha.
homeowners, right? But the tenant will also be able to be paid to stay somewhere else while you're fixing up your house. So instead of them, you know, being angry with you because you know you can't have them stay there while contractors
And they lost their stuff, and they want to sue
Right.
you because they lost their
Exactly.
stuff.
and then it'll cover their personal property as well.
Okay.
And so it's important for someone. So say for instance you're living in your house now, you buy a new house, you decide to rent your house. It's important for them to call and
Absolutely.
change their
Absolutely.
insurance from homeowner's
Yes.
policy to
To a long-term rental.
Long-term rental.
Yep.
Okay.
For the number one, for the reason that you'll get that loss of use coverage, but also if you have a claim and the claim adjuster comes out and he looks at the people and he said, "You're not Wayne Davis. This is Wayne Davis' home. You're Brenda. Oh, I went from Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. All right, cool. We'll get back to you.
Ooh.
There you go on there. I always put a big denied on that paper.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Yes, because you have a rent. It's a different risk. So a lot of sometimes people forget, but sometimes it does cost a little bit more, and people don't want to make that change.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the second one, and then you
That's
have
a
the
good
vacant
one.
homes.
Right.
So the vacant homes, I've actually just insured one person was fixing it up. They finally fixed it up. Now it's on the market.
Okay.
You know, they didn't want to rent it out. They want to fix and
Yeah.
flip, right?
Okay.
So now it's a different risk. It's not a builder's risk anymore. It's now a vacant home.
Okay.
So it's just a different risk. You want to cover the home. It's vacant. It does present a higher risk. So it may be a little more, but you'll sell the
worth it.
house pretty quickly if you come to United Real
Yeah.
Estate. So you know.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Exactly. You only have to
Plug.
pay, you only have to
Plug.
pay 1 month. Yeah, no, but that's good. I mean, but that's it's good information because
Yeah.
even as real estate agents, we don't try to cross the line. We say, hey, you have to get your insurance. And just another thing I want to bring up too, homeowners insurance, your lender may call it hazard insurance.
Right.
So
Right.
hazard and
Same
homeowners are
thing.
pretty
It's
much
the
the
same
same
thing.
thing.
Right.
So that kind of confuses people as well.
Yes.
But it's good to know everything about the insurance because
Yes.
now people will, I'm sure they file more claims than ever than they used to because, it's just the way things are. I mean, it's so expensive and things like that. And then also, another question that people will have is in the case of a fire, the reconstruction cost is
Right.
typically always higher than what they pay because people say, well, I only paid $300,000 for the
Yes.
house, but no, if we had to build it again, it would be $400,000,
Right.
and you're basically paying on that cost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't understand that. They, because sometimes you'll get a great deal on a house, right? And you'll get a house for $300,000 that's worth $400,000, right, on the market. Sometimes you're buying, and maybe we were buying in the seller's market where you $400,000 was worth $350,000. You know, with the insurance company is concerned with the market value is. We want to know how much does it cost to rebuild that home, whether it's in Beverly Hills or in the middle of the worst neighborhood in the world. It's the same, material, and they have to rebuild that home. So that's what we look at. And so to do the replacement if they have a fire, we're calculating to make sure that we account for the makeup of your home. And we add an additional 25% on top of that embedded in the policy as inflation protection.
Okay.
Because just recently we had the cost of building materials go up.
Yes, they did.
You know?
They sure did.
Right.
During COVID.
Exactly. And you know, so the building may cost a little bit more than 5-10 years ago. So we want to make sure that you have that extra protection. Just in case, you know, you have a loss. We don't want to be the insurance company on the news talking about we couldn't rebuild someone's home because we underestimated.
Right.
You don't want that.
Right. Yeah. Like, why Eric up on that? Why?
Right. I know that guy.
And next thing you're on the news, and,
Right.
you know, and then somebody looking all sad, sitting on the steps.
Right.
What used to be their steps.
I know, right?
I don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. And multifamily dwellings as
Multifamily.
well. Do those. Okay.
Actually just did a policy for a lady, multifamily. She was going to rent it out. Now she's just going to live in one part and rent the other half out.
Okay.
So you can do that. You know? And that's also, you know, a lot of college kids are doing that. You buy a home near your college, you rent the other part out, you stay in the one. College, your living expenses are free, and the tenant is paying for your house. You know,
That's a good thing.
Now, let me ask you, how does that work? The insurance work with Airbnbs?
Airbnbs is not like a rental home.
Okay.
It is like a rental home. You rent it out, but you're renting it out on the weekly, monthly, or daily basis. So we do have carriers that will do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's every carrier. It's a carrier for every type of risk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Very
Because
well.
we do have people that are, you know, purchasing properties to potentially use them as Airbnbs and things like that. But I just want to say something as just a note to anyone that's thinking about purchasing a home or condo, using it as an Airbnb. Just double check the HOA documents or condo documents, because there are a lot of communities cracking down on that because they don't want pretty much like transient people coming in and out of their community. So a lot of HOAs, condo associations, they are amending their bylaws to include that you cannot use your property as an Airbnb.
That's a
I
good
can
footnote.
understand that. Right.
That's a good footnote.
So, but that's, you know, that's one of those things that, you know, you just have to be mindful of.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
It was good while it lasted.
right.
Exactly.
Okay, so Eric, so they have insurance and it's moving day.
Right.
So
okay.
now they have everything loaded up on the truck and they move into their new house, and they get there, something's missing or something happens. Is there any type of insurance of somebody from moving?
So I mean, your personal property is so that's one of the biggest aspects of your insurance. Your personal property. You want to make sure that your insurance quote includes personal property replacement costs, and most of companies today do include that. But just double check. What that does is it makes sure that the value of your personal items aren't evaluated as with depreciation. So if you have a fire, let's say you're moving in the truck, and something falls off the truck, very expensive piece of item, and you, let's say it was a sofa or something, and it breaks up, but you bought it 10 years ago. So they may say, well, hey, this is only worth this amount of money, and you can't buy that sofa with that little bit of money.
Yeah.
So you want to have that full amount and for your claim. But also, one big thing you want to make sure you do is schedule your values. That's one big gap in coverage that I do see with insurance policies that I review. People don't schedule their jewelry.
That
their
happened to
fine
me
arts.
one time.
Okay. Yeah.
And I put in a claim for about $22,000, and they would only give me the maximum because I didn't itemize, and I think it was like $1,000 or $2,000.
So now we're talking insurance language.
Yes,
So someone does not know what you mean by schedule.
Okay.
So break it down elementary.
So scheduled property. So first, the highest items that you want to tell the insurance company about, which means schedule. You're itemizing. You're just detailing what the item is, what it costs, when you purchased it. So jewelry is the number one. The wedding ring, your wife's wedding ring. Definitely make sure you let your insurance company know if it's worth more than $1,000. Because she's not going to be happy if you get her $1,000 ring and she had a 10,000 ring on her hand before. She's not gonna. So jewelry, fine arts, furs, collectibles, stamps, things like that. They're worth more than the average item. So you want to send the information to the insurance company, basically how much it costs. You could do a bill of sale or you could do an appraisal. A lot of people, if they have an item, they don't have the bill of sale. So go get it appraised because it probably has appreciated in value. So it's probably worth more. Send that into the insurance company. And instead of the maximum being $2,500 for all the jewelry in your house, up to $1,000 per piece, it gets bumped up to whatever it is the value is. There's no deductible, mysterious disappearance. That comes into play, and it covers it internationally.
Okay.
So if you travel abroad and something happens, no questions asked, it gets scheduled.
Okay, so pictures or do
Yes,
they need? Okay.
definitely
So, but you
artwork.
don't want to wait until it's gone. You want to have that.
Exactly.
Right.
So you have to have a separate, basically a rider or something along with your policy, and then they just charge you per.
Yes.
Yeah, per, like when you do jewelry, furs, art, things like that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, I learned that hard lesson back in the early 2000s.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I was like, "What? You mean to tell me?"
Yeah.
And it's always that fine
The
print,
fine print.
with the magnifying glass. You're like, "You're not responsible for anything."
Did you
over.
schedule it?
Yeah.
Right. And that's a good thing. I mean, that wasn't a good thing, but that was what a lot of people are experiencing because they don't know
Lack of knowledge.
to ask their insurance agent, do I need to schedule my jewelry? Who would know to ask that?
No.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So you don't until you don't know, but now you know,
Exactly.
right? It's like,
Exactly.
now you know.
And that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, but that's good.
You and because I know our time is kind of winding down. Believe it or not. Okay, all right. Well, you know what? This was really good. I tell you, I said I had so many aha moments, and so with then still COVID, a lot of individuals are working from home or have home-based businesses.
Right.
So how does the insurance incorporate that? Is that a separate policy, or how do we cover home-based business?
So it depends on the business.
Okay.
If you have foot traffic coming in and out your home, you may need a separate commercial policy. If it's just you're actually just working from, if you work for a company and you just work from home and you just have your laptop, then you may not need to do anything special. The company itself is going to cover any liability that you have. I mean, you're not having any foot traffic. You're just remotely working. But if you own your own business and it's your 1099 or your LLC or a corporation, then you definitely want to have separate commercial insurance for your business exposure liability, maybe for your business personal property, depending on what you do. If you're, if you have equipment that's worth a lot, then you want to schedule that. And then, well, if it's your primary home, then you wouldn't need business commercial coverage for it, unless it's under the business name and you still live there. But hey, this is my home, but it's also my business.
Right.
So it's a case by case basis.
Okay.
So I talk to the person and see what type of business they have and
like daycare.
Daycare can be endorsed. That's one of the ones that can be. You want if it's under 4 children.
Okay.
So I had a young lady whose daycare had expanded. She went from 4 children. We endorsed it on the renters. Then she went up to 8. So we did a separate commercial policy for her. Now she's purchasing the home.
Oh wow.
She's buying it.
Wow.
So now we're doing a homeowner's policy for her instead of a renter's insurance policy.
Okay. Wonderful.
So either way, depending on how many kids you have, will determine if you could put it under the homeowners or if you have to just get a separate policy. Yeah. So yes, daycare is a really good one. A lot of people, even if you're just watching like family members, children, you probably want to put that endorsement on there because the claims adjuster will come out and he'll say, well, this is essentially a daycare, even though you're just watching your nephew or something like that. And it's not that much more expensive. It's better to have that to be safe.
Yeah, so that includes like liability if somebody trips and falls and all that.
Yes.
Things happen.
So that's the same for like assisted living as well. The same.
Assisted living, yes. Assisted living would definitely be a separate policy. So insurance companies wouldn't put that as an endorsement. But if you can have coverage for if you have high-end computer equipment, so you have computer endorsement. And then you have, like I said, it depends on the business. You may just have a small endorsement for in-home business,
We had a situation where we had the tenant that rented out the property to do assisted living. So how does that work?
So it's like renter's insurance for assisted living.
Right. So,
because technically they're not the homeowner.
They're not the homeowner.
Yeah.
so you want to make sure that's a good.
And the house caught fire. And I
That's a
found
good
about it we found out that our house was on fire on the news.
Wow.
And somebody died. A couple of people died.
Oh boy.
It was deep, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big liability, So I guess going back, you want to kind of make sure in your lease agreement that you address that. Can they sublease to someone else, and can they run any type of business or operation? That you might people might want to start thinking about putting that in their lease agreement, some type of clause. But if it wasn't, and they ran the business out of the home, and they did not have insurance, then the homeowner's responsible.
Yeah.
It's your building.
Yeah.
So that you want to make sure that you protect yourself. That's why you want to make sure your tenants have renters insurance. Because if something like that happens, you want their renters insurance or their business insurance. If they have a business, you should be making sure they have liability that will cover that. Because the renters insurance won't cover that if they're running a business in the home and they didn't tell the insurance company. So you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself as a homeowner.
Yeah, because there was another house that I actually had rented out as a realtor, and they used, it wasn't assisted living, it's re-entry or
Like a group home?
rehab, rehab group home,
Yeah.
and that was the things we insisted. You have to provide us a policy
Yes.
showing not only just renter insurance but the liability insurance, because the liability we don't want that on the landlord.
Exactly.
That liability needs to stay with.
And that's the biggest, most used portion of insurance, liability. People wouldn't realize it. And what really makes, you can test your insurance agent if they give you less liability than the cost of the home. Wow. If they give you $100,000 in liability, you buy a $300,000 house.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Wow.
Right. So you want to at least, with me and my carriers, $500,000 liability is what I recommend for a homeowner. You're a homeowner. You have income. You probably have vehicles. You own a business. You should have $1 million umbrella on top of that, because you don't have to be a millionaire to be sued for $1 million.
That's very true, especially now.
Yeah. And that situation where the person died.
Yeah.
That's more than that. So even with certain policies too, certain pets are restricted as well.
Oh yes. Yeah. So we know beloved pit bulls are restricted. Rottweilers, Doberman Pinschers, aggressive dogs, what they would call aggressive.
Yeah.
But I look at it as it all depends on how you raise the animal.
True.
Right.
Right. But a lot of insurance companies straight just don't even want to touch. Pit bulls is the number one. They just don't even want to touch it. They make you. Some companies say no. Some companies will say, well, we'll exclude the liability on your dog. So if he ends up biting somebody, it's not covered.
It's not. We're not prepared for it.
And then we have some companies that say, okay, we'll allow it as long as they have the, they've been kept up on their records. They don't have any bite history. But if you do have a dog that does have a bite history, it could be pretty difficult to get insurance that includes the liability for them.
Yeah, because I've seen people run into that issue as well.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, this has been a wealth of information. Now you see.
We learned something.
That's what I said. I have an aha moment every time, and Eric has been just tremendous wealth of information, knowledge, understanding, wisdom, the whole 9 yards at our home buyers workshop. So wouldn't it make sense for you to come out on September the 17th or connect with one of our home buyer workshops where you can meet him in person? But just in case, for whatever reason, you can't, Eric, how can we get in touch with you?
Well, the best way to get in touch with me is directly on my cell phone. I'm very personable. I like to provide, direct customer service. So people reach me. All my clients have my direct cell phone number. A lot of times clients will call me and I'll say, hey, it's Sunday, but I'm in Six Flags. But what you need? I take care of you when I get back. So, you can always text me. But 410-808-1447. brings directly to my cell phone. You can also email me at Eric, ERIC .smalls, SMALLS @goosehead.com.
Fantastic.
All right.
Well, Wayne, you want to share information about how people can get in contact with us at United Real Estate Executives?
Okay, United Real Estate Executives. Let me give you the address. The address is 11155 Dolefield Boulevard, Suite 108 in Owens Mills, Maryland. And our number here to the office is 833-999-UREE or 8733.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this has been very, very intriguing, very invigorating, very empowering, session of a step closer to closing because this, I mean, the insurance, like I said, a lot of lenders not even going to insure unless you have this information, unless you have your insurance. They're not even going to approve the loan. So there's a lot more detail that goes along with it, but Eric will be able to walk you through with it. Your realtor will be able to walk you through with it as well. But we just thank you for taking time to just come and stop by and share with us on these real estate realities because we gonna, if nothing else, we gonna keep it real.
Exactly.
Right.
As also along with a step closer to closing because we making moves and we're gonna be making a move right on out of here today as we enjoy our Labor Day weekend.
Exactly.
But we hope that you also enjoy yours. So we'll see you again next time.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.